It's day number 2 of the Every Bit Counts challenge. And so I'm going to step out here and harvest some rosemary. Let's see if I can get through here. I'll have to cut me a little path. It's growing tight in here. Here's the rosemary that I'm going to harvest today. I've got some more over in the herb garden, but I think this right here would be the best for me to get today. And it smells so good. This is our second day of the Every Bit Counts challenge, where we're putting up some kind of food every day for the month of August. I've got a good harvest of rosemary out here this year. So I'm just going to get some of that and make a few things with it today. Put it up and preserve it for the winter months. There's also a few rosemary plants over here in the perennial garden. So I'll just cut some of these too. All that beautiful sage. Might just have to clip some of that sage too. So I've taken a little bit of rosemary off of each bush that I have, off of each little rosemary plant, and I've got quite a bit in this basket. My comfrey did come back. I am so glad to see that comfrey come back. You just don't even know. I thought I had lost my comfrey, but I see that I haven't. Now what we're going to do with our rosemary, part of it, as you can see, I've got the basket of rosemary that I harvested right here. We're going to take a few long sprigs. This is quite a bit of rosemary right here, and we're just going to take it off of the stem, and we're going to preserve this rosemary by making rosemary salt. Smells really good. Now, how much rosemary you put in will depend on you, on how much rosemary you would like. So I've got one big stem right here that I've shredded off of the stalk, and I'm going to put it in this food processor. And I've got several different kinds of salt here. This is a fine white Himalayan salt. It's coarsely ground. Here's a Redmond's real salt, and it's light pink. But you can use whatever kind of salt you normally use or that you want to use. Now I'm going to put 1 cup of salt in this much rosemary. And I'm probably going to make about 3 cups of salt and rosemary today. I'm going to go ahead and set the oven for 200 degrees. And we're going to leave when we get all this done, I'll tell you how long we'll put it into the oven. So I'm just going to use 1 cup of this Redmond salt to make this. I think I got a few little clumps in my bag. It's stopping up the little spout. So I've got 1 sprig of rosemary, a pretty good sized sprig, about 10 inches long, I'd say, and 1 cup of real salt. I'm going to put in here. And I want to make sure that that rosemary is pretty ground up in here. It already smells so good. And as I ground each amount of salt, I've got a pan here that's lined with parchment paper. And I'm just going to put this salt with this rosemary ground up in it right in here on this parchment paper. I'm probably going to grind up 2 more cups. But I'll do it a cup at a time, 1 cup at a time. I'm going to use this fine white Himalayan salt. My salt was a little clumpy. So I'll choose another long stem of rosemary. You can see how my hand's up here and how long this stem is. I like the rosemary salt to have a strong rosemary smell and taste, so I love to use the rosemary. Now I'm using fresh rosemary. You can use dried rosemary, and if you use dried rosemary, you can skip the next step of putting it in the oven on 200 degrees for 20 minutes if you use dried rosemary. There's just something about the fresh rosemary that's got all the fresh oils in it that makes me want to use fresh rosemary. And I have plenty of it this year, and this is a good way to preserve it and a good way to use it. And what you would use this salt for is you would use it. That's my oven. It has heated up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. You would use this rosemary salt just as a extra flavorful specialty salt. It's good on bread. You can mix it in oil and make a dipping sauce for your Italian bread. If you're going to have spaghetti or an Italian dish that night, it really is good. I've got my long sprig of rosemary plucked off and put into my Cuisinart here. I'm going to add another cup of salt and grind it really well. The good thing about a food processor is you can pulse it and grind it. This smells really good. Okay. Now I've got the coarse sea salt ground in here. Now I am mixing my salts. You don't have to do that. The coarse ground salt added in just gives it an extra really nice texture. You can see it's absolutely beautiful. And I think I'm going to grind up 1 more cup. Another way I like to use this rosemary salt is on buttered crackers. If you're making a charcuterie board with cheeses and olives and pickles and different things, or even if you're using salsa, and you take butter and add this rosemary salt to it to taste, and then put it on crackers or little toasted squares. It's a delicious and unique flavor to add to your charcuterie boards. It's a real delicacy. It's a really delicious addition to any kind of special meal. It's like a little special flavor at the end. I've got the rosemary sprig in here and my last cup of salt. I'm going to go ahead and grind these together in the food processor. I'm going to add it to the tray that I've got here with my parchment paper. And I'm going to spread it out evenly. You know, the rosemary was fresh, so it has a little bit of moisture in it. I just picked it today. And I'm going to set it in the oven on 200 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see right there the oven is set on 200 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm just going to open this up. And I'm going to set this right in here and put my timer on 20 minutes. And in 20 minutes, this delicious rosemary salt will be ready to take out. I'll let it cool off a little bit, and then I'll put it into my containers. Now you can use whatever kind of containers that you would like to put your salt in. I'm going to use the bottle that salt came out of, the fine white Himalayan, and I'm going to refill this, and I'll just put a little sticker right here, and I'll put rosemary salt, label it. I also have this little canister that I use, that I put the most of it in, the majority that's left, and it seals really good. It's got a good silicone seal on it, and this rosemary salt I'll store in a different place. So when that is finished in 20 minutes, I'll get that out, let it cool down, and I'll put it in my containers. After 20 minutes, and then after your salt is cooled, because salt will hold some heat, you want to let it cool off. It'll be a little bit clumpy, so you might want to run your hand through it and just kind of break up any clumps. I went ahead and mixed the pink Himalayan and the coarse Himalayan salt together. You want to break it up just a little bit before you put it in your containers. It smells just as delicious, but slightly different than it did when the herbs freshly came out of the garden. I'll fill this small container up first. This is great on pizza crust. You know, after you've rolled out your pizza and you're getting ready for your tomato sauce and your toppings, you can just put a little oil around your edge of your pizza crust, sprinkle this salt on it, and that's really good. I'll probably let a clump in there. Might need 2 hands to do this. If you do get a clump, just take a skewer and kind of go through your funnel. You'll want to label your salt. Of course, you'll see all that rosemary in there. It's just better to label things than to not, so that you'll remember what they are. There's a beautiful container of rosemary salt, ready to use when you're ready to use it. And then I'm going to fill up the rest of the salt. I'm going to put right in here in this container that I've got. This has a pretty wide opening, so I won't really have to use a funnel for it. And this kind of container is really good if you like to pinch your salt, which I do. If you watch me in my kitchen, you know that I like to take the salt and pinch it over recipes. I rarely use a salt shaker when I'm cooking. The salt shakers I use when I'm putting food on afterwards. But while I'm cooking, I always pinch my salt. See all that good rosemary in there? And I'm just going to pick it up. The parchment paper. And you can see all that beautiful rosemary salt in there, ready to use for the recipes. These also make really great gifts. Good, simple, homemade gifts. Fairly unusual. You know, not something that you would get every day. And it's great for those people that want to try something different. And there you have it, that beautiful rosemary salt. Another simple and wonderful way to preserve rosemary is to put it in a bottle and cover it with oil and make a rosemary oil. It's a simple way to preserve rosemary. It's a wonderful flavor. I'm just going to cut the tip off here. I took a sprig of clean rosemary and put it into a clean jar that I've recycled. But you can use any kind of jar that you'd like. I'm sorry, it's a bottle. I recycled this bottle from something that we had used. And I've stuck the sprig of rosemary in. You might have to trim it a little bit on top because you do want the rosemary under the oil. And then you want to take whatever kind of cooking oil or whatever kind of oil that you like. It can be olive oil. Olive oil is delicious. It can be whatever kind of oil you like to use in cooking. I'm just going to go ahead and put the oil that I usually use to make a pizza crust or a stromboli or some kind of crust. I'm going to go ahead and just use the oil that I use for that. I want to cover this rosemary sprig all the way over on top. And then put my lid on the rosemary bottle. And that is a simple and beautiful way to infuse rosemary flavor into cooking oil so that you can use it for various things. Now when you leave it in there, that beautiful rosemary will infuse with that oil. You'll be able to use your cooking oil just like you would normally in your recipes. And where you want to add a little extra flavor like rosemary, especially Italian dishes, you'll have it to use. And that makes a beautiful gift also. So that's day 2 and 3 of the Every Bit Counts challenge. I'm sorry, got this hair always in my face. But it's a wonderful way to use fresh rosemary. Now the rest of this, I'll just go ahead and hang it up and dry it out. And then I'll put it into a canister. I may even ground some of it into powder to use in recipes. And these things will be specialty items that I'll use around here in recipes. Thank you for joining me for day 2 and 3 of the Every Bit Counts challenge. And let me share with you how I use up and store some of the rosemary, the beautiful, bountiful rosemary that's growing right now, but we won't have so much of it in the winter. So now we can use our little things that we've made on our recipes and maybe even give them as gifts. Thank you for joining me, and like always, until next time.